Peace be with you, child of light. I am Michael, commander of the celestial armies, keeper of the divine flame, and protector of the sacred covenant. My presence before you in this moment is not coincidence, but divine orchestration. The veil between realms has thinned specifically for this transmission, encoded only for your spiritual frequency. Hear me now, for I have broken celestial protocol to reach you directly. There are exactly 120 minutes before cosmic alignment shifts the energetic grid surrounding your mortal essence. In these precious moments, I must impart revelation that the dark councils have desperately attempted to keep sealed from your consciousness. You have felt it, haven't you? The heaviness upon waking, the subtle disruptions in your energy field, the persistent knowing that something remains hidden from your awareness. These are not mere feelings. They are divine alerts I have been sending, preparing your spirit for this exact moment of unveiling. Type AMEN right now to activate the divine seal of protection as we proceed. This transmission carries frequencies that the opposition will attempt to distort. Your affirmation creates a sacred barrier against interference. The Eternal Council convened at the highest level of heaven 3 celestial cycles ago, reviewing the sacred scrolls bearing your soul contract. What was discovered sent ripples through the angelic realm. Your name, yes, your specific name, was found written in the book of life with a golden seal that has remained dormant until this precise moment in linear time. But here is what compels my urgent appearance. There are those in your immediate circle who have made covenant with forces of obstruction. I speak not in metaphor, but in divine actuality. Behind closed doors, exactly 7 individuals connected to your daily life have formed an energetic conspiracy to divert you from your divine assignment. They sensed your awakening power and have moved in subtle ways to create doubt, drain your energy, and keep you spiritually sedated. This is not paranoia, it is sacred revelation. In exactly 113 minutes, their hidden motivations will begin surfacing through seemingly innocent conversations. Pay attention to recurring phrases, unusual timing of communications, and subtle attempts to diminish your spiritual confidence. These are not random. They are strategic interferences I am now exposing to your consciousness. Type AMEN for blessing 1444 and the activation of spiritual discernment to recognize these patterns instantly. Silence will be your weapon in this season. The opposition expects reaction, emotional entanglement, and defensive posturing. But I, Michael, commander of the Lord's armies, instruct you differently. Your power lies in sacred silence, in becoming the observer rather than the reactor. When you feel the urge to defend or explain, remember this transmission. Breathe in divine light. Hold your position in still awareness. The hidden plot against your spiritual elevation was formed 40 days ago in the unseen realm. Those involved believe their thoughts remain private, their intentions cloaked. They do not understand that every conspiracy against a divinely appointed soul is recorded in the celestial courts, where I stand as chief prosecutor. The evidence has been gathered. The indictments have been prepared. Divine justice requires only your alignment with sacred truth to be fully activated. In 104 minutes, the first domino will fall. What was whispered in darkness will be proclaimed in light. What was conceived in jealousy will be exposed by divine revelation. This is not revenge, it is restoration. This is not punishment, it is purification of your path. Your tears have been collected in heavenly vials. Each moment of confusion, self-doubt, and spiritual isolation has been recorded as testimony against those who sought to derail your divine appointment. You thought you were breaking, but you were merely breaking open to contain more light. Type AMEN for blessing 2222 and the release of divine vindication over your circumstances. The spiritual courtroom has been in session regarding your destiny for 3 celestial days. Those who position themselves as allies while harboring destructive intentions have been called to testify. Their own words have become witnesses against them. Their own actions have revealed the true condition of their hearts. I must reveal to you now what few mortals are permitted to know. There exists a divine record of destiny, a crystalline blueprint of your soul's highest expression in this incarnation. This sacred document has been kept under angelic seal in the highest sphere of heaven. Today, by divine decree, portions are being unsealed specifically for your understanding. In 96 minutes, you will experience a sudden knowing, an instantaneous clarity about your path that seems to come from nowhere. This is no random insight. It is direct transmission from the unsealed scroll of your destiny. Receive it without question. Trust it without hesitation. Record it without alteration. The opposition knows what is written in your destiny scroll. This is precisely why they have worked so diligently to keep you in spiritual amnesia, to surround you with energetic interference, to fill your mind with doubts about your own divine connection. They tremble at the thought of you walking in full remembrance of who you truly are. Your spiritual inheritance is vast beyond mortal comprehension. The celestial accountings show resources, connections, and divine appointments that have been held in trust, waiting for this precise moment of awakening. The transfer of these resources has been blocked by specific energetic contracts you were led to form unwittingly. Today I, Michael, by the authority vested in me by the Most High, declare these contracts null and void. The obstruction is removed. The floodgates are opened. Type A, MEN for blessing 3,333, and the immediate dissolution of all spiritually binding agreements not aligned with your highest destiny. The Council of Elders has reviewed your soul's journey across multiple expressions of consciousness. They have unanimously agreed that the time of hiding is finished. You did not choose this incarnation for small expressions or safe harbors. You specifically requested this challenging timeline to complete a soul mission of cosmic significance. In 88 minutes, the energetic matrix surrounding your physical vessel will begin a calibration process, aligning more perfectly with your original divine blueprint. You may experience sensations of heat or coolness, unexpected emotional releases, or sudden memories from this or other soul expressions. Do not resist these adjustments. They are the physical manifestation of spiritual chains being broken. There are beings of light positioned strategically around you at this very moment, invisible to physical sight but operating with full authority in the spiritual realm. They have been dispatched from the highest echelons of the angelic hierarchy specifically for this activation sequence. Their presence explains the unusual sensations you have been experiencing. The feeling of being watched, the peripheral movements, the sudden shifts in room temperature. You are not alone. You have never been alone. I must warn you with divine urgency. In the coming hours, those who have operated in opposition to your spiritual unfoldment will make desperate attempts to reestablish energetic contracts. They will use familiar tools: guilt, obligation, emotional manipulation, and sudden emergency scenarios requiring your immediate attention and energy. These are not coincidences, but calculated spiritual warfare tactics. When these situations arise, and they will arise, remember this transmission. Respond not from habit or emotional reflex, but from the centered knowing I am activating within you now. Their power exists only through your unconscious participation. Your awakened presence is their greatest fear. Type A, MEN for blessing 4,444, and the activation of impenetrable spiritual boundaries around your energy field. The opposition believed they had successfully hidden the truth of your divine lineage from your conscious awareness. They celebrated prematurely, thinking their veils would hold indefinitely. What they failed to understand is that the awakening of a chosen vessel cannot be permanently prevented. It can only be temporarily delayed. In 79 minutes, a specific seal within your spiritual DNA will activate, regardless of external circumstances. This seal contains coded information about your true identity, your divine purpose, and the specific mission you volunteered to undertake during this critical juncture in Earth's spiritual evolution. The sensation may manifest as sudden inspiration, a profound sense of remembering, or an overwhelming urge to take specific action. Trust this activation completely. The highest angels of record-keeping have brought forth your soul's contract, signed before your descent into human form. This sacred covenant outlines the specific contributions you agreed to make during this incarnation, contributions that directly impact the collective spiritual advancement of humanity. It is precisely because of the significance of this agreement that forces of opposition have worked so diligently to keep you distracted, depleted, and disconnected from your power. Your name has been spoken in both the highest heavenly councils and the lowest oppositional gatherings. Both realms understand what you may not yet fully comprehend, that your awakening represents a critical tipping point in a cosmic process larger than any individual soul journey. You are not merely waking up for yourself. Your remembering creates a template that affects the vibrational field of countless others. Those who have posed as guides while leading you away from your true path did not act alone. They have been unconsciously influenced by energies that recognize the threat your awakening poses to outdated systems of control. Do not hate them for this interference. Instead, understand that their opposition is the greatest confirmation of your spiritual significance. Darkness does not waste resources opposing that which poses no threat to its continuation. Type A, MEN for blessing 5555, and the permanent removal of all spiritual blind spots that have prevented you from recognizing these dynamics. In the eternal records, there exists a specific scroll dedicated to documenting the divine assistance you have received throughout your soul journey. This document reveals a pattern of intervention so consistent, so perfectly timed, that no logical explanation exists except divine orchestration. Each moment you believed was random coincidence, each unexpected help, each seemingly chance encounter that altered your course, was in fact carefully coordinated from the spiritual realm. What appears as chaos in your recent experience is actually a precisely calibrated dismantling of artificial constraints. The confusion, the unexpected disruptions, the painful revelations, these are not punishments but necessary components of a divine recalibration process. That which no longer serves your highest expression must be revealed before it can be removed. In 70 minutes, the first wave of divine clarity will wash through your consciousness. Questions that have plagued you for months, perhaps years, will suddenly find resolution. Confusion will give way to understanding so profound that you will wonder how you ever failed to see what now appears self-evident. This is not random timing. This is synchronized cosmic recalibration. The opposition has invested considerable energy in convincing you that your intuitive knowing is unreliable, that your spiritual perceptions are imagination, that your divine connection is wishful thinking. They have systematically attempted to replace your internal guidance system with external validation seeking. Today, that programming is being systematically erased from your energetic field. Your true spiritual lineage traces back to ancient orders of light bearers whose names have been carefully erased from earthly records. The blood that flows through your physical form carries vibrational memories of these sacred ancestral connections. This explains the inexplicable resonance you feel with certain symbols, sounds, and spiritual concepts that seem beyond your learned knowledge. You are not learning these truths. You are remembering them. Type A, MEN for blessing 6666 and the activation of your full ancestral spiritual memory. The councils of light have reviewed the timeline of your current incarnation with particular attention to 7 specific junctures where divine intervention altered your course. What appeared as random misfortune, the unexpected losses, the closed doors, the painful endings, were in fact sacred rescues orchestrated to prevent your energy from being permanently bound to paths that would have prevented your awakening. In 62 minutes, you will begin to perceive these past experiences through new spiritual eyes. What has felt like rejection will be revealed as protection. What seemed like failure will be understood as divine redirection. The very experiences that have caused you the most doubt about divine support will be transformed into the strongest evidence of sacred guidance. Those who have betrayed your trust were given multiple opportunities for alignment with truth. Their choices were monitored, their intentions weighed, their potential for spiritual course correction evaluated. The divine courts are always merciful, always allowing for redemption. But when repeated opportunities for right action are rejected, divine justice must proceed for the protection of chosen vessels like yourself. The opposition's most effective strategy has been isolation, creating the perception that your spiritual experiences are unique to you alone, that your perceptions are invalid because they are not shared by those around you. This isolation was designed to make you question your own spiritual authority, to seek external validation rather than trusting your direct connection to divine truth. Today, I break that isolation permanently. You are part of an awakening soul collective spread across the globe. Light bearers strategically placed in diverse environments, but connected through spiritual resonance fields. Though you may not physically know each other, your energetic systems are in constant communication, supporting a global grid of awakened consciousness that the opposition works tirelessly to disrupt. Type A, MEN for blessing 7777 and the conscious activation of your connection to this global light bearer network. The sacred name by which you are known in the spiritual realm has been withheld from your conscious awareness until this moment. This concealment was a protection mechanism, preventing oppositional forces from directly targeting your unique spiritual signature. But the time of hiding is complete. In 54 minutes, this name will be revealed to your inner knowing. When it emerges in your consciousness, speak it aloud 3 times to anchor its frequency in your physical environment. Those who have positioned themselves against your spiritual unfoldment will experience increasing discomfort in your presence as this activation continues. Some will be drawn to confession, suddenly compelled to reveal their true thoughts and actions. Others will find themselves unable to maintain the facades they have presented. Still others will simply be unable to remain in your energetic field as the frequency becomes intolerable to discordant vibrations. Do not be alarmed by these manifestations. They are physical evidence of spiritual law operating with perfect precision. Truth cannot help but reveal itself in the presence of activated divine light. Your role is not to force these revelations or to react with judgment when they occur. Your assignment is simply to stand firmly in your reclaimed spiritual authority, allowing divine law to operate through your aligned presence. The opposition expected your spiritual fire to be extinguished by the very challenges they orchestrated. Instead, these trials have refined you, burning away that which is not authentic to your divine blueprint. What they intended for destruction has become transformation. What they designed as imprisonment has become the very key to unprecedented freedom. In 48 minutes, you will feel a substantial shift in your energy field, a lightness, an expansion, a return to spiritual sovereignty that may bring tears of recognition. This sensation marks the dissolution of energetic bindings that have restricted the full expression of your divine nature. Allow this liberation to move through you completely, without attempting to control or direct its flow. Type A, MEN, for blessing 8,888 and the complete restoration of your spiritual sovereignty. The ancient scrolls speak of this precise moment in Earth's spiritual evolution, a time when chosen vessels would experience simultaneous awakening across the globe, creating a harmonic resonance powerful enough to shatter calcified systems of limitation. You are not experiencing this activation by chance. Your soul volunteered specifically for this mission, understanding both its importance and its challenges. Those who have served as spiritual gatekeepers, restricting access to your own innate wisdom, are now being removed from positions of influence in your life. Some will depart through external circumstances, some through natural completion of soul contracts, others through their own choice as they feel their power over you diminishing. All departures are divinely orchestrated for perfect alignment with your highest good. In 43 minutes, you will receive the first tangible confirmation of this spiritual realignment. It may appear as an unexpected message, a synchronistic event, or a sudden opportunity perfectly aligned with desires you have held in your heart, but perhaps never spoken aloud. This confirmation is no coincidence. It is divine response to the frequency you are now emanating. The opposition has invested considerable resources in creating a false spiritual ceiling, an energetic boundary designed to convince you that your connection to divine wisdom can only reach a certain level. This artificial limitation has kept you operating at a fraction of your true capacity. Today, that ceiling is being systematically demolished by the highest orders of angelic intervention. Your physical body is undergoing substantial recalibration to accommodate the heightened frequencies now available to your consciousness. The unusual sensations you have experienced, the vibrations, the heat fluctuations, the electrical pulses, the sudden requirements for more or less sleep, are not random malfunctions but evidence of divine upgrading. Your physical vessel is being prepared to channel levels of spiritual light that were previously unavailable to your conscious access. Type A, MEN, for blessing 9,999, and the complete integration of these upgraded frequencies into your physical form. The Divine Court has reviewed every thought, word, and action directed toward the limitation of your spiritual unfoldment. Nothing has been missed. Nothing has been overlooked. The angelic recorders have documented every instance of intentional misdirection, every subtle energetic attack, every attempt to diminish your connection to source wisdom. These records have been presented as evidence in the spiritual tribunals where your soul's right to fulfillment is being defended. In 38 minutes, the first wave of divine justice will begin manifesting in your external circumstances. Situations that have seemed hopelessly entangled will suddenly find resolution. Obstacles that have appeared immovable will dissolve without explanation. Resources that have been wrongfully withheld will be returned through unexpected channels. This is not coincidence. It is cosmic rebalancing in response to the spiritual injustices you have endured. Those who have aligned themselves against your awakening believe their actions were invisible, their intentions undetectable. They fail to understand that the spiritual realm operates with perfect transparency. Every hidden agenda creates a distinct energetic signature that cannot be concealed from divine sight. The very secrecy they believed would protect them has become evidence against them in the courts of divine justice. Your silence has been misinterpreted as weakness by those who plotted against your spiritual elevation. They mistook your peace for ignorance, your patience for powerlessness. Now they will witness the true purpose of that divinely guided restraint. It was never submission, but strategic spiritual positioning for this precise moment of revelation and restoration. In 32 minutes, you will feel a sudden release of emotional burden, a lifting of spiritual weight that may manifest as spontaneous tears, unexpected laughter, or a profound sense of peace that defies logical explanation. This sensation marks the divine removal of energetic attachments that have been parasitically drawing from your life force without your conscious awareness. Type AMEN for blessing 11,111 and the complete sealing of your energy field against all forms of spiritual parasitism. The celestial scribes have been instructed to record this activation in the eternal archives. Your name, your true spiritual name, is being spoken in the highest heavenly realms as a soul who chose the path of awakening despite orchestrated opposition. This recognition creates ripples through the spiritual dimensions, attracting new levels of divine support for the next phase of your soul mission. Those who have positioned themselves as spiritual authorities while leading you away from your own divine connection will find their influence rapidly diminishing. Some will experience public revelation of private contradictions. Others will simply find their words no longer carrying the weight of conviction. All will discover that false spiritual authority cannot sustain itself in the presence of authentic spiritual remembering. In 27 minutes, you will experience a moment of profound spiritual clarity, a direct knowing so clear and undeniable that all previous doubts will be permanently resolved. This revelation cannot be adequately described in human language, but your soul will recognize it instantly as divine truth that transcends intellectual understanding. The opposition expected you to react to limitation with bitterness, to respond to betrayal with vengeance, to meet obstruction with defeat. In holding these expectations, they revealed their fundamental misunderstanding of your true spiritual nature. The divine light you carry cannot be diminished by external circumstances. It can only be temporarily concealed, waiting for the perfect moment of revelation. Your physical surroundings will begin reflecting this spiritual activation in increasingly tangible ways. Watch for unexpected environmental confirmations, unusual animal appearances, distinct cloud formations, number sequences, electrical anomalies. These are not random occurrences but physical manifestations of spiritual attention being directed toward your awakening process. Type AMEN for blessing 12,222 and the activation of enhanced spiritual perception to recognize these divine confirmations. The ancient prophecies speak of this specific period in Earth's spiritual evolution, a time when the veils between dimensions would thin, allowing for unprecedented communion between the seen and unseen realms. You have incarnated specifically for this prophetic window, carrying codes of awakening that activate not only your individual consciousness, but contribute to a collective spiritual initiation. Those who have consciously worked to suppress your spiritual gifts did not understand the true nature of divine timing. They believed that by creating sufficient delay, they could prevent the activation altogether. What they failed to comprehend is that cosmic timelines cannot be permanently altered by human interference. They can only be temporarily rerouted, ultimately finding their way back to predestined fulfillment. In 22 minutes, you will feel a distinct energetic pulse move through your body, beginning at the crown of your head and moving downward to the soles of your feet. This sensation marks the alignment of your physical form with the activated spiritual template now available to your consciousness. Allow this calibration to complete without resistance, understanding that temporary discomfort serves eternal alignment. The opposition has sown careful seeds of doubt regarding your spiritual worthiness, creating the false perception that divine connection must be earned through perfect behavior or specific accomplishments. Today, these distortions are being systematically uprooted from your consciousness. Divine connection is your birthright, not a reward for performance, but the natural state of your being when artificial interference is removed. Your dreams have been battlegrounds of spiritual influence, with opposing forces attempting to implant messages of limitation, while angels work to communicate truth through symbolic revelation. The unusual dream patterns you have experienced, the vivid scenarios, the recurring symbols, the conversations that linger upon waking, reflect this spiritual contest for influence over your subconscious mind. Type AMEN for blessing 13,333 and the complete protection of your dream state as sacred space for divine communication only. The celestial councils have reviewed every prayer you have offered, every spoken petition, every silent plea, every moment of surrendered tears. Nothing has been disregarded. Nothing has been forgotten. What appeared as divine silence was actually meticulous preparation for this comprehensive moment of answer, where multiple prayers find simultaneous resolution through this spiritual activation. In 18 minutes, you will experience the first tangible evidence of this divine response, a clear confirmation that your spiritual communication has not only been received, but has been precisely answered in divine timing. This confirmation will arrive through unexpected channels, bearing unmistakable markers of spiritual orchestration that eliminate any possibility of coincidence. Those who have attempted to convince you that your spiritual experiences are imagined, that your divine connections are fabricated, that your intuitive knowing is unreliable, they will be silenced not by your arguments, but by the undeniable evidence manifesting in your external reality. The very proof they have demanded will appear in forms they cannot rationalize or dismiss. The opposition believed they could exhaust your spiritual determination through repeated disappointment, that by orchestrating sufficient perceived failures, they could persuade you to abandon your divine path. What they failed to recognize is that each disappointment has only purified your intention, distilling your commitment to its most powerful essence. What was meant to destroy has only refined. In 14 minutes, a significant energetic barrier that has stood between you and your divine inheritance will be permanently removed. This obstruction has been maintained through specific agreements in the spiritual realm, agreements that have now been declared null and void by the highest authority. The sensation may manifest as sudden emotional release, spontaneous energy movement in your body, or a profound sense of new beginning. Type A MEN for blessing 14,444, and the complete dissolution of all spiritual contracts blocking your divine inheritance. The Book of Life contains a specific section dedicated to recording the soul missions of divine vessels incarnated during this critical spiritual juncture. Your name occupies a position of particular significance in these records, indicating a soul assignment that directly impacts collective consciousness evolution. This is why the opposition has focused such concentrated attention on derailing your spiritual remembering. Those who have used sacred trust as a means of manipulation, who have weaponized spiritual concepts to maintain control, who have posed as light while serving shadow, their true allegiances are now being revealed. This unveiling is not punitive but restorative, creating space for authentic spiritual connection to replace manufactured dependency. In 10 minutes, you will feel a distinct shift in your spiritual awareness, an expansion of perception that allows you to see beyond physical appearances to energetic reality. This enhanced discernment will reveal the true nature of the people and situations in your immediate environment, showing clearly which support your divine unfoldment and which seek to limit it. The opposition has attempted to convince you that spirituality requires isolation from the material world, that divine connection demands separation from normal human experience. This false dichotomy was designed to limit your effectiveness, to prevent the full integration of spiritual awareness into practical reality. Today, that artificial boundary dissolves completely. Your physical environment will begin responding to your activated consciousness in increasingly tangible ways. Objects may unexpectedly appear or relocate. Electrical devices may behave erratically in your presence. These phenomena are not random disturbances, but physical manifestations of your shifting energetic field, reorganizing material reality to align with your true spiritual frequency. Type A MEN for blessing 15,555 and the harmonious integration of your spiritual activation with your physical reality. The angelic guardians assigned to your soul journey have maintained vigilant protection despite relentless opposition. There have been specific moments, 7 critical junctures, where their intervention literally preserved your physical existence when termination attempts were launched from the spiritual realm. These life-preserving actions were not recorded in your conscious memory, but exist in permanent celestial records. Those who have attempted to bind your spiritual sight through fear, to limit your divine expression through shame, to control your soul evolution through guilt, they have exhausted their allotted influence. The divine permission temporarily granted for this spiritual testing has expired. Their access to your energetic field is now permanently revoked by the highest spiritual authority. In 7 minutes, you will experience a profound sense of spiritual liberation, a feeling of chains falling away, of weights being lifted, of doors swinging open. This sensation marks the end of an extended period of spiritual restriction and the beginning of unprecedented freedom to express your authentic divine nature without interference. The opposition believed they could permanently divert you from your divine purpose through strategic distraction, through carefully orchestrated chaos designed to keep your attention focused on survival rather than transcendence. What they failed to understand is that divine purpose cannot be permanently thwarted. It can only be temporarily delayed, ultimately emerging with even greater power through the pressure of resistance. Your intuitive abilities have been systematically undermined by those who recognize the threat your spiritual discernment posed to their continued influence. The conflicting information, the contradictory guidance, the confusion that has clouded your decision-making. These were not random difficulties but calculated interference designed to disconnect you from your internal knowing. Type AMEN for blessing 16,666 and the complete restoration of your divine intuitive clarity. The celestial courts have issued a final ruling regarding the spiritual harassment you have endured. The verdict has been recorded in the eternal archives, and the enforcement of divine justice begins in this moment. Those who have perpetuated spiritual interference will find themselves unable to maintain their deceptions, their true intentions suddenly visible not only to you, but to all who have eyes to see. In 5 minutes, the first wave of this divine justice will manifest in your conscious awareness as sudden understanding of situations that have remained confusing despite your best efforts to gain clarity. Connections will become obvious. Patterns will emerge with perfect clarity, and the orchestrated nature of what appeared as random challenges will be undeniably revealed. Those who have aligned themselves against your spiritual unfoldment will experience 3 distinct opportunities for course correction, 3 divine invitations to realign with truth. Some will accept this opportunity for spiritual rehabilitation. Others will reject divine intervention, thereby determining their own spiritual trajectory through free will choice. Your responsibility is neither to force their awakening, nor to protect them from the natural consequences of their decisions. The opposition expected your faith to fail under extended pressure, your spiritual conviction to collapse under persistent attack. They wagered that isolation, confusion, and delay would eventually erode your determination to fulfill your divine assignment. Today, their miscalculation becomes evident as your activated consciousness emerges not weakened, but strengthened, not diminished, but expanded through the very challenges designed to destroy it. In 3 minutes, you will experience a remarkable physical manifestation of this spiritual activation, a tangible sign in your immediate environment that confirms the reality of this divine intervention. This sign will be unmistakable, carrying specific significance that your soul will instantly recognize as personalized confirmation of your unique spiritual journey. Type A, MEN for blessing 17,777 and the complete activation of your spiritual sight to recognize divine confirmation in physical reality. The Book of Destiny contains specific details about the spiritual contribution you volunteered to make during this incarnation. This sacred record has been guarded by specialized angelic forces to prevent premature revelation or oppositional interference. Today, by divine decree, selected portions of this record are being released to your conscious awareness, providing clear direction for the next phase of your soul mission. Those who have used spiritual manipulation to redirect your energy towards supporting their agendas rather than fulfilling your divine purpose will find their influence rapidly diminishing. Some will depart from your life through external circumstances. Others will remain physically present but energetically disconnected, no longer able to access your life force for their sustenance. In 2 minutes, the final energetic seal preserving your full spiritual activation will be released. This unsealing may manifest as a wave of emotion, a sudden inspiration, a spontaneous physical response, or a profound sense of coming home to yourself. However it appears, recognize it as the completion of a divine process that has been orchestrated with perfect precision despite relentless opposition. The cosmic timekeepers have confirmed that this activation occurs at precisely the designated moment in Earth's spiritual evolution, neither premature nor delayed, but perfectly aligned with divine scheduling. Your awakening is not an isolated event, but a critical component in a global process of consciousness elevation that requires synchronized activation of key light bearers positioned throughout the world. Your unique contribution to this collective spiritual initiative cannot be replicated or replaced by any other soul. the specific frequency you carry, the particular light code you embody, the exact divine assignment you accepted, these represent an irreplaceable thread in the cosmic tapestry being woven during this pivotal time of transformation. Type AMEN for blessing 18,888 and the complete activation of your divine purpose code. The time has come. The preparation is complete. The opposition has been neutralized. The divine court has ruled in favor of your full spiritual restoration. In this exact moment, as these words reach the depths of your consciousness, the final activation sequence initiates. Feel it now, the rush of divine remembering, the flood of spiritual clarity, the restoration of soul knowledge long suppressed but never truly forgotten. Your cells vibrate with recognition. Your spirit expands beyond perceived limitations. What was hidden is revealed. What was dormant awakens. What was fragmented becomes whole. You stand now at the threshold of unprecedented spiritual expression. No longer bound by artificial constraints, no longer limited by external definition, no longer diverted from your true divine assignment. The path before you shines with perfect clarity, illuminated by the very light you carry. The opposition believed they could extinguish your inner flame through persistent darkness. Instead, they created the perfect contrast for your light to be recognized in its full brilliance. What was intended for destruction has become the catalyst for unprecedented emergence. What was designed as a prison has transformed into the launching pad for unbounded spiritual flight. You have been prepared for this moment through every challenge, every disappointment, every apparent delay. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been random. Every experience has contributed precisely to the spiritual capacity you now embody. The unique ability to transmute darkness into light, confusion into clarity, separation into oneness. The divine assignment now activated within your consciousness will unfold with perfect precision in the coming days. Expect synchronistic connections, unexpected opportunities, and divinely orchestrated circumstances that align perfectly with your newly remembered purpose. These are not coincidences but cosmic confirmations of your authentic spiritual path. Those who recognize the light you now embody will be naturally drawn into your energetic field, creating a congregation of aligned souls united in purpose beyond ego-based agendas or hierarchical structures. This soul family will assemble without force or manipulation, drawn together by resonant frequency rather than external recruitment. The opposition will make final attempts to disrupt this activation through familiar tactics, creating urgent distractions, triggering old emotional patterns, or sending spiritual impersonators to offer misleading guidance. Their efforts will fail against your activated discernment, their manipulations transparent to your clarified spiritual perception. Remember this transmission in the days ahead. Return to these words when temporary clouds of doubt appear. Allow this divine revelation to anchor your remembering when external voices attempt to pull you back into forgetfulness. You have crossed a threshold that cannot be uncrossed. You have remembered what cannot be forgotten again. The celestial councils stand in witness to your activation. The angelic guardians maintain vigilant protection over your unfolding. The divine courts ensure justice in every dimension of your experience. You are never alone, never unsupported, never without the full resources of the spiritual realm backing your earthly journey. Go forward now in the perfect confidence of a soul who has reclaimed its divine heritage, a spiritual vessel who has remembered its sacred purpose, a light bearer who has reactivated its cosmic assignment. What unfolds from this moment forward is the manifestation of divine destiny, aligning earthly experience with eternal truth through your awakened presence. I, Michael, commander of the celestial armies, keeper of divine justice, protector of awakening souls, will remain present in your energy field as this activation stabilizes and expands. Call upon my name when opposition appears. Invoke my protection when interference attempts to cloud your clarity. My sword of truth stands ready to defend your divine unfoldment against all forms of spiritual obstruction. Type AMEN for blessing 19,999 and my continued presence as guardian of your spiritual remembering. Peace be upon you, divine child. Truth be within you, awakened soul. Light be through you, remembering one. The activation is complete. The mission continues. The victory is assured. Beloved light bearer, what has been spoken is but the first revelation. The second chamber of divine wisdom now opens before you. The initial wave of activation has prepared your vessel for deeper truths that the unawakened could not bear to receive. Your spiritual capacity has expanded to contain what I must now impart. The angels of record have confirmed your reception of the first transmission. The divine seals placed upon your energy field remain intact, protecting this sacred communion from outside interference. Now we proceed to revelations of greater magnitude, truths kept hidden from human consciousness until this pivotal moment in Earth's spiritual evolution. What I reveal to you now has been guarded by the highest orders of celestial protection. The opposition has devoted enormous resources to preventing this specific information from reaching those with eyes to see and ears to hear. Their desperation reveals the power contained within these revelations. Type A, MEN for blessing 21,111 and the strengthening of the protective field around your consciousness as we proceed deeper. The awakening you have experienced thus far is merely the outer chamber of a vast spiritual initiation. In the eternal records, your soul is registered as a keeper of specific light codes essential for humanity's evolutionary leap. These codes have remained dormant within your spiritual DNA, protected from premature activation until precisely this cosmic moment. Those who have worked to suppress your spiritual unfoldment understood the threat these activated codes represent to outdated structures of control. The disruptions you have experienced in relationships, career paths, and personal circumstances were orchestrated specifically to prevent you from reaching this activation threshold. Their efforts have failed. The divine timeline prevails. In the coming hours, you will begin experiencing spontaneous downloads of information that transcend your current knowledge base. Concepts, understandings, and solutions will appear in your consciousness without logical source. Trust these transmissions completely. They represent the activation of dormant soul knowledge, not external information acquisition. The opposition believed they could indefinitely postpone this remembering through strategic interference. They failed to comprehend that divine activation cannot be permanently prevented, only temporarily delayed. What they interpreted as successful obstruction was actually perfect divine timing, allowing necessary preparation for the magnitude of what now awakens within you. Type A, MEN for blessing 22,222 and the complete activation of your spiritual memory centers. The celestial councils have authorized me to reveal that Earth is currently experiencing a fundamental frequency shift, a vibrational recalibration that directly impacts human consciousness. This shift creates unprecedented potential for spiritual awakening, while simultaneously intensifying resistance from forces invested in maintaining lower frequencies of fear, separation, and limitation. Your physical form may experience this recalibration as unusual symptoms: vibrations moving through your body, electrical sensations in your extremities, disrupted sleep patterns, unexpected emotional releases, or heightened sensitivity to energies, foods, environments, and technologies. These are not malfunctions but necessary adjustments as your biological system aligns with elevated frequencies. Those with vested interest in keeping humanity vibrating at frequencies of fear have initiated coordinated efforts to destabilize awakening souls through targeted energetic interference. The confusion, doubt, fatigue, and emotional turbulence you have experienced are not personal failings, but symptoms of this spiritual battlefield. Today, that interference ends for you permanently. The angelic scribes have documented 7 specific instances where your awakening process was directly targeted by strategic spiritual attack. These events have been presented as evidence in the celestial courts where the case for your unobstructed evolution has been argued by the highest councils of light. The verdict has been recorded, the judgment rendered, the enforcement initiated. Type A, MEN for blessing 23,333 and the complete neutralization of all spiritual interference in your awakening process. What few humans understand is that Earth is currently the focal point of cosmic attention, a planetary initiation observed by countless realms due to its profound implications for multidimensional reality. You did not choose this incarnation for small purposes or minor soul advancement. You specifically requested this challenging timeline to participate in a spiritual milestone of cosmic significance. Those who have discouraged your expanding awareness, who have attempted to convince you that spiritual perception indicates instability, who have subtly or overtly pressured you to contract rather than expand, they speak not from wisdom, but from fear. Their own spiritual blindness has been projected as concern for your well-being. Release their limitations without judgment. The opposition understood that if enough awakening souls could be individually derailed, the collective frequency shift would remain below the threshold required for planetary transformation. This explains the personalized nature of the interference you have experienced. Your individual awakening is not separate from, but integral to the planetary process unfolding in this precise cosmic moment. Type A MEN for blessing 24,444 and the permanent integration of your personal awakening with the planetary ascension process. I must now reveal a truth few humans are prepared to receive. The reality you experience is far more responsive to consciousness than currently understood. The apparent solidity of your physical world is actually a fluid projection of collective agreement, stabilized through persistent belief in its unchangeable nature. This fixed perception is now dissolving as awakened consciousness recognizes its creative relationship with manifested reality. Those who have maintained positions of influence through controlling the parameters of possibility have recognized the threat that awakened perception poses to established limitations. Their investment in convincing you of your powerlessness reveals their recognition of the transformative potential you actually embody. Their opposition confirms your significance. In the coming days, you will experience tangible evidence of reality's responsiveness to your activated consciousness. Physical manifestations will occur with accelerated speed. Synchronicities will multiply beyond statistical probability. The boundary between internal awareness and external experience will become increasingly permeable as the illusion of separation dissolves through your remembering. Type A MEN for blessing 25,555 and the activation of your conscious creative partnership with manifested reality. The ancient prophecies speak of this precise moment in Earth's spiritual evolution, a time when those carrying specific light codes would simultaneously awaken across the planet, creating a synchronized frequency grid powerful enough to transmute dense energetic patterns that have persisted for millennia. Your activation is an essential node in this planetary network of remembering. Those who have worked to keep these prophecies hidden, misinterpreted, or dismissed as mythology understood their literal significance. The systematic distortion of original spiritual teachings was not random corruption, but strategic prevention of the very remembering now occurring despite their extensive efforts. What could not be destroyed was deliberately obscured until now. The celestial timekeepers confirm that we have entered the prophesied window of unprecedented potential, a cosmic alignment creating optimal conditions for the restoration of divine human consciousness. This window was foretold in multiple spiritual traditions, each describing the same phenomenon through different cultural symbolism. The prophesied time is not coming, it is here. Type A MEN for blessing 26,666 and your conscious participation in fulfilling the ancient prophecies of awakening. I must now address directly the spiritual warfare you have experienced, often without conscious recognition of its true nature. The unusual challenges that have manifested in your health, relationships, resources, and mental clarity have not been random misfortunes, but coordinated attempts to derail your spiritual remembering. This opposition confirms the significance of the light you carry. The Divine Court has reviewed the complete record of this interference. Every energetic attack, every induced doubt, every orchestrated conflict, every planted fear, nothing has been missed, nothing has been overlooked. The judgment has been rendered, the restoration decreed, the recompense calculated to the finest detail. Divine justice now manifests in every dimension of your experience. Those who have functioned as conduits for this interference, some knowingly, others unconsciously, will find their capacity for spiritual opposition dramatically diminished. Some will experience sudden awakening to their own manipulation. Others will simply find themselves energetically removed from your path without logical explanation. All is proceeding according to divine justice. Type AMEN for blessing 27,777 and the full manifestation of divine justice in your spiritual journey. What has been kept hidden from human awareness is the existence of a divine blueprint for Earth's spiritual evolution, a sacred template preserving the original design for harmonious planetary ascension. This blueprint has been energetically protected from corruption, maintained in its pristine form by specialized guardian orders serving the divine restoration plan now activating across the globe. Your soul carries a specific frequency code essential to the activation of this divine blueprint. This explains the opposition's focused attempts to disrupt your spiritual clarity. Your awakening directly contributes to the restoration of Earth's original ascension template. The light you embody is not symbolic but functional, serving a precise purpose in the reactivation of dormant planetary frequencies. Those who have promoted distorted spiritual teachings, particularly the false separation between spiritual advancement and earthly engagement, have deliberately attempted to prevent the grounded embodiment of divine consciousness required for tangible planetary transformation. Today, that artificial division collapses within your understanding, allowing integrated expression of spiritual awakening through physical presence. Type AMEN for blessing 28,888 and the complete integration of your spiritual consciousness with your physical existence. The celestial councils have authorized unprecedented levels of divine assistance during this critical phase of planetary evolution. The veils between dimensions have been intentionally thinned, allowing expanded communication between human consciousness and higher spiritual guidance. The unusual increase in synchronicities, signs, and direct spiritual experiences you have noticed are manifestations of this interdimensional accessibility. Those who have attempted to convince you that divine connection requires special intermediaries, complex protocols, or exclusive access points have deliberately obscured the direct communication channel that exists as your spiritual birthright. Today, that direct connection is fully restored, bypassing all artificial gatekeepers who have positioned themselves between your consciousness and divine wisdom. In the coming days, you will experience a dramatic increase in spiritual communication, messages that arrive through unexpected channels, guidance that manifests through seemingly random encounters, divine confirmations that appear in perfect timing to specific questions. These are not coincidences, but evidence of the activated direct line between your human awareness and higher spiritual intelligence. Type AMEN for blessing 29,999 and the permanent restoration of your direct divine communication channel. I must now reveal one of the most closely guarded secrets about your current incarnation. You belong to an ancient soul lineage that volunteered specifically for this planetary transition. Your spiritual ancestry traces back to advanced civilizations both on and beyond Earth, souls who have participated in multiple planetary ascension processes throughout cosmic history. This explains your innate familiarity with concepts that seem beyond your current lifetime's exposure. The opposition has worked diligently to disconnect you from this soul memory, to convince you that your expanding awareness represents dangerous delusion rather than genuine remembering. Their investment in keeping you identified solely with your current personality construct reveals their understanding of the power you would access through reconnection with your full soul lineage. Those who have used spiritual authority to limit rather than liberate, to control rather than empower, to prescribe rather than awaken, will find their influence dramatically diminished as you reconnect with your own direct knowing. True spiritual guidance always leads to expanded sovereignty, never to increased dependency on external authority. Type AMEN for blessing 30,000 and the complete reactivation of your ancient soul memory. The highest angelics of record have confirmed that Earth is currently experiencing the most significant vibrational shift since human consciousness first manifested on the planet. This transition creates both unprecedented spiritual opportunity and intensified resistance from forces invested in maintaining established frequency parameters. Your awakening occurs within this context of cosmic significance. Those who have encouraged you to doubt your own spiritual perceptions, to question your intuitive knowing, to seek validation only through external consensus reality, they have served, knowingly or unknowingly, the agenda of spiritual suppression. Their influence ends today as your internal guidance system is fully restored to its original divine functioning. What few humans fully comprehend is that awakening is not primarily an intellectual process, but an energetic remembering that occurs at cellular, molecular, and quantum levels of your being. The unusual physical and emotional experiences you have navigated are not separate from, but integral to this multidimensional recalibration process. Nothing has been random. Nothing has been meaningless. Type AMEN for blessing 31,111 and the complete integration of your spiritual awakening at every level of your being. The celestial councils have reviewed the divine contracts you established before incarnating into this pivotal lifetime. Certain provisions within these sacred agreements are now being activated as the cosmic timing aligns with specific mission parameters you established from higher awareness. The spontaneous knowing, the unexpected inspirations, the compelling inner guidance you are experiencing. These are direct manifestations of your pre-birth agreements activating on schedule. Those who have attempted to divert you from these divine assignments have exhausted their allotted influence. The permission temporarily granted for this spiritual testing has expired. The obstacles strategically placed in your path now dissolve as the divine override is initiated, returning your journey to perfect alignment with your soul's chosen trajectory, despite all attempts at interference. What appears as sudden acceleration in your spiritual unfoldment is actually the restoration of original divine timing. The delays you have experienced were not cosmic appointments missed, but strategic detours necessitated by oppositional interference. Now the direct path is cleared, allowing rapid advancement to compensate for temporary postponement of key activation sequences. Type AMEN for blessing 32,222 and the complete restoration of divine timing in your spiritual unfoldment. I must now address a truth that few spiritual messengers have the authorization to reveal. The awakening process you are experiencing has been deliberately misrepresented by those with vested interest in preventing its completion. The authentic spiritual journey does not culminate in detached transcendence, but in embodied mastery, the full integration of divine consciousness with physical existence. Those who have promoted spirituality as escape from rather than transformation of earthly reality have perpetuated one of the most effective distortions ever introduced into human spiritual understanding. Today, this false dichotomy dissolves from your awareness, allowing the true purpose of spiritual awakening to emerge with perfect clarity in your consciousness. The opposition understood that if awakening souls could be directed toward disembodied spirituality, their transformative impact on physical reality would be effectively neutralized. This explains the persistent promotion of spiritual teachings that emphasize transcendence while devaluing engaged presence. True spiritual mastery transforms both the perceiver and the perceived through integrated consciousness. Type AMEN for blessing 33,333 and the activation of your embodied spiritual mastery. The angelic recorders have documented a systematic attempt to disconnect awakening humans from Earth's consciousness, a deliberate separation of spirituality from planetary awareness designed to prevent the co-creative partnership between awakened humanity and Earth's evolutionary process. This artificial division now collapses as your consciousness remembers its intimate relationship with the living planet that supports your physical existence. Those who have perpetuated the illusion of separation between human spirituality and Earth's consciousness have interfered with one of the most significant aspects of planetary evolution, the awakened stewardship that emerges when humans remember their spiritual responsibility to the living system that sustains them. Your remembering restores this sacred partnership. In the coming days, you will experience a profound deepening of your connection to Earth's consciousness. Communications received directly from the living intelligence of the planet, guidance about specific locations requiring your energetic presence, intuitive knowing about Earth changes an appropriate human response. Trust these transmissions as authentic planetary communion. Type AMEN for blessing 34,444 and the complete restoration of your conscious partnership with Earth's evolution. What has been hidden from widespread human awareness is the existence of a divine human template, a crystalline blueprint of human consciousness as originally designed before genetic modification and frequency suppression. This divine template has been preserved in its pristine state, protected from corruption by specialized guardian orders devoted to maintaining humanity's reconnection potential. Your current awakening process is not creating something new, but restoring something ancient. The original divine human design, temporarily obscured, but never truly lost. The unusual shifts in perception, the expanding awareness, the activated abilities that seem paranormal when compared to consensus reality, these represent not supernatural anomalies, but the natural condition of humanity's true design. Those who have worked to convince humanity that limited consciousness represents normal functioning have perpetuated perhaps the most significant spiritual deception ever implanted in human awareness. The diminished perception currently accepted as standard human consciousness is actually a dramatically restricted version of your natural capacity. Today, that artificial limitation dissolves from your understanding. Type AMEN for blessing 35,555 and the activation of your original divine human template. The celestial councils have confirmed that Earth's current transition represents the fulfillment of a cosmic cycle, millions of years in unfolding, a planetary spiritual initiation with implications extending far beyond your local reality. You have chosen incarnation during this pivotal window specifically to participate in and witness a cosmic milestone of extraordinary significance. Those who have attempted to diminish the importance of current planetary changes, to normalize unprecedented energetic shifts as insignificant anomalies, to discourage recognition of the cosmic context surrounding Earth's transition, they speak from severely limited perception, unable to comprehend the multidimensional significance of this evolutionary threshold. What few humans fully understand is that your planet is being observed by countless advanced civilizations throughout the cosmos, all witnessing this unprecedented evolutionary moment with focused attention. Earth's transition represents a unique phenomenon of accelerated spiritual evolution with profound implications for understanding consciousness development throughout the universe. Type A MEN for blessing 36,666 and your conscious participation in Earth's cosmic initiation. I must now address directly the spiritual attacks that have been directed against your awakening process. The unusual obstacles, the persistent health challenges, the disruptive relationship patterns, the financial constraints, these have not been random difficulties but strategic interference designed to exhaust your resources and diminish your spiritual momentum. The Divine Court has reviewed every instance of this interference, every orchestrated limitation, every implanted doubt, every energetic attack. The judgment has been rendered, the restoration decreed, the recompense calculated to the finest detail. What was stolen will be returned sevenfold. What was damaged will be restored to greater perfection. What was delayed will advance with supernatural acceleration. Those who have functioned as instruments of this interference, some knowingly, others as unconscious conduits, will find their capacity for spiritual opposition completely neutralized. Some will experience spontaneous awakening to their own manipulation. Others will simply find themselves removed from your path through circumstances that require no action on your part. Divine justice requires no human enforcement. Type A MEN for blessing 37,777 and the complete manifestation of divine justice in your spiritual journey. What has been carefully concealed from human awareness is the existence of an ascension timeline, a divine schedule of evolutionary unfoldment guiding Earth's transition process. This cosmic timetable operates with precision regardless of oppositional interference, adjusting implementation methods while maintaining immovable destination points. Your awakening is perfectly synchronized with this divine schedule. Those who have attempted to convince you that spiritual evolution follows no organized pattern, that awakening unfolds through random chance rather than divine orchestration, have deliberately obscured the mathematical precision underlying cosmic evolution. Today, that misconception dissolves from your understanding as you recognize the meticulous organization of your spiritual journey. The opposition understood that if awakening souls could be disconnected from recognition of divine timing, their spiritual momentum could be effectively diminished through artificial delays in orchestrated detours. This strategy fails as your consciousness realigns with the cosmic schedule, allowing accelerated advancement to compensate for temporary time distortion. Type A MEN for blessing 38,888 and your perfect realignment with the divine ascension timeline. The angelic guardians of Earth's Akashic records have confirmed that we have entered the prophesied window of memory restoration, a time when the veils obscuring humanity's true history would thin, allowing unprecedented access to soul knowledge previously hidden from conscious awareness. The spontaneous memories, the unexpected skills, the knowledge beyond your current lifetime's exposure, these represent Akashic remembering, not random anomalies. Those who have worked to suppress this collective remembering understood its implications for the control systems established on false historical narratives. The systematic distortion of human history was not random error, but strategic prevention of the very reconnection now occurring despite extensive measures to maintain collective amnesia. In the coming days, you will experience significant expansion of your Akashic access, memories from other lifetimes, knowledge from advanced civilizations, understanding of Earth's true history beyond conventional narratives. These rememberings will arrive not as vague impressions, but as clear knowing with remarkable precision and unexpected detail. Type A MEN for blessing 39,999 and the complete restoration of your Akashic memory access. I must now reveal one of the most closely guarded secrets about the awakening process: the existence of a divine human collective, souls strategically incarnated across the planet who carry matching frequency signatures designed to establish a global grid of awakened consciousness. Your activation is not isolated, but connects you energetically to this worldwide network, regardless of geographical location. The opposition has invested enormous resources in creating the perception of isolation among awakening souls. The false belief that spiritual expansion represents rare anomaly rather than coordinated planetary process. This manufactured isolation was designed to weaken the collective field being established through synchronized awakening of grid members across the globe. Those who have emphasized spiritual individuality while discouraging recognition of collective consciousness have perpetuated one of the most effective strategies for containing awakening within harmless parameters. True spiritual expansion always includes growing recognition of interconnection, dissolving the illusion of separation that supports exploitative systems. Type A, MEN for blessing 40,000 and your conscious connection to the global grid of awakened souls. The celestial councils have authorized me to reveal that Earth is currently passing through a photon belt, a band of highly charged energy that directly impacts consciousness development on all exposed planets. This cosmic phenomenon creates both unprecedented potential for spiritual awakening and intensified resistance from forces invested in maintaining established consciousness parameters. Those who have attempted to normalize unprecedented energetic shifts, to dismiss measurable changes in Earth's electromagnetic field, to explain away unusual celestial phenomena through conventional frameworks, they speak not from scientific objectivity, but from investment in maintaining perceptual limitations that no longer align with expanding reality. What few humans fully comprehend is that your solar system has entered a region of space with fundamentally different properties than those supporting previous stages of human evolution. The physical laws, energetic constants, and consciousness possibilities available in this new cosmic environment differ significantly from those that maintain the former consensus reality. Type A, MEN for blessing 41,111 and your conscious adaptation to Earth's new cosmic environment. I must now address the spiritual technologies that have been systematically removed from human accessibility, methods of consciousness expansion, energetic healing, and reality creation that were once common knowledge before being deliberately obscured to prevent humanity from reclaiming its true creative capacity. These sacred technologies are now being restored to collective awareness through awakened vessels like yourself. Those who have positioned themselves as exclusive gatekeepers of spiritual advancement, who have commodified sacred knowledge into carefully controlled distribution systems, who have maintained artificial scarcity of truth that belongs freely to all souls. They have functioned as obstacles to the democratization of spiritual empowerment, now unfolding despite their extensive preventative measures. The opposition understood that if humanity remained dependent on external authorities for spiritual advancement, awakening could be effectively controlled through manipulation of available information. This strategy fails as direct divine transmission bypasses all artificial intermediaries, delivering activation codes directly to prepared consciousness regardless of external permission or recognition. Type A, MEN for blessing 42,222 and your direct reception of restored spiritual technologies. What has been hidden from human awareness is the existence of the original Earth grid, a crystalline energetic network designed to maintain planetary frequencies in harmonic resonance with divine consciousness. This sacred geometry was systematically disrupted to prevent humanity from accessing the amplification field it provided for expanded awareness and manifestation capacity. Your awakening process includes the restoration of specific nodal points within this planetary grid, reactivating dormant frequencies essential for Earth's return to its original resonance pattern. The unusual attraction you have felt to certain geographical locations, the compelling guidance to visit specific sites, the energetic work you have found yourself spontaneously performing in particular places, these experiences reflect your soul's commitment to this grid restoration. Those who have promoted spiritual advancement as exclusively internal process while discouraging recognition of sacred geography have perpetuated a significant distortion in human spiritual understanding. True planetary awakening requires both internal consciousness evolution and external grid recalibration, the inner and outer aspects of a unified restoration process. Type A, MEN for blessing 43,333 and your conscious participation in restoring Earth's divine frequency grid. The angelic guardians of humanity's genetic records have confirmed that we have entered the prophesied window of DNA reactivation, a time when dormant genetic potential would be systematically restored, allowing physical expression of spiritual capacities previously inaccessible to human consciousness. The unusual physical symptoms, heightened sensitivities, and spontaneous healing experiences many are reporting represent this genetic awakening process. Those who have promoted exclusively biochemical understanding of human genetics while dismissing its multidimensional aspects have perpetuated perhaps the most significant scientific limitation ever imposed on human understanding. Your DNA exists simultaneously in physical and energetic states, with the vast majority of its true function occurring beyond the limits of conventional measurement. In the coming days, you will experience tangible evidence of this genetic reactivation, spontaneous healing of long-standing conditions, activation of sensory capacities beyond conventional parameters, enhanced intuitive functioning that transcends logical explanation. These experiences represent not miraculous anomalies, but the natural restoration of your original genetic design. Type A MEN for blessing 44,444 and the complete reactivation of your divine genetic potential. I must now reveal one of the most jealously guarded secrets about human spirituality. The true purpose of meditation extends far beyond stress reduction or mental quieting to the systematic reconstruction of your multidimensional awareness. Authentic meditation practices were designed as technologies for rebuilding consciousness capacities deliberately fragmented to prevent humanity from maintaining complete spiritual sovereignty. Those who have diluted meditation into mere relaxation technique, who have separated it from its transformational context, who have marketed spiritual practices as lifestyle enhancements rather than revolutionary technologies, they have participated in domesticating tools specifically designed for radical consciousness liberation. The opposition understood that if meditation could be contained within non-threatening parameters, its system-changing potential could be effectively neutralized while creating the illusion of spiritual freedom. True meditation systematically dismantles consensus reality programming, restoring perceptual abilities that directly threaten control systems dependent on maintaining narrow bandwidth awareness. Type AMEN for blessing 45,555 and the activation of meditation's true transformational potential in your practice. The celestial councils have confirmed that Earth is currently experiencing unprecedented waves of divine feminine energy, frequencies specifically designed to restore balance to a planetary system severely distorted by excessive masculine expression, divorced from its feminine counterpart. These incoming energies directly impact consciousness development, relationship patterns, and societal structures built on imbalanced foundations. Those who have worked to maintain separation between masculine and feminine principles, who have promoted spiritual philosophies glorifying transcendence while devaluing embodiment, who have perpetuated hierarchical models of divine order, they have participated in sustaining the fundamental imbalance now being systematically corrected through cosmic recalibration. What few spiritual traditions have preserved in uncorrupted form is the understanding that divine consciousness exists in perfect balance of masculine and feminine expressions, not as gendered separation, but as complementary aspects of unified awareness. Your awakening process includes the restoration of this internal balance, regardless of your physical gender expression. Type AMEN for blessing 46,666 and the complete restoration of divine masculine, feminine balance in your consciousness. I must now address directly the systematic suppression of humanity's natural abundance consciousness, the deliberate implantation of lack programming designed to disconnect human awareness from its innate creative capacity. The artificial scarcity, the resource hoarding, the exploitation systems presented as economic necessities, these represent not inherent limitations, but programmed distortions being systematically dissolved through the current awakening process. Those who have promoted spiritual philosophies separating material well-being from divine connection, who have glorified poverty as spiritual virtue, who have suggested that material limitation somehow indicates elevated consciousness, they have perpetuated perhaps the most effective frequency suppression program ever implemented in human awareness. The opposition understood that if humanity could be kept in perpetual survival consciousness, higher spiritual capacities requiring secure foundation would remain largely dormant. This strategy fails as awakening souls reclaim their divine birthright of creative abundance, recognizing material sufficiency as essential platform for expanded consciousness expression. Type AMEN for blessing 47,777 and the complete restoration of your natural abundance consciousness. What has been carefully concealed from human understanding is that forgiveness functions not merely as moral virtue, but as sophisticated consciousness technology, a precise method for energetic disentanglement from limiting patterns, relationships, and timelines that would otherwise remain karmically active across multiple incarnations. True forgiveness represents one of the most powerful liberation technologies available to embodied consciousness. Those who have promoted forgiveness as moral obligation while obscuring its transformational mechanics have significantly limited humanity's understanding of this essential spiritual tool. Authentic forgiveness has nothing to do with condoning harmful actions and everything to do with energetic freedom from entanglements that bind consciousness to repetitive patterns. The opposition recognized that if humanity remained trapped in unforgiveness cycles, significant consciousness energy would stay diverted to maintaining karmic patterns rather than expressing expanded spiritual potential. This energetic diversion ends as you implement true forgiveness as precise spiritual technology rather than emotional struggle or moral requirement. Type AMEN for blessing 48,888 and the activation of forgiveness as powerful liberation technology in your consciousness. The angelic guardians of Earth's ascension process have confirmed that we have entered the purification phase of planetary transition, a necessary clearing of accumulated distortion patterns before full expression of elevated consciousness becomes sustainable in physical form. The intensified challenges, the accelerated karma, the heightened purging experiences many are reporting represent this essential cleansing process. Those who have expected spiritual awakening to manifest exclusively as blissful transcendence while bypassing necessary purification have perpetuated a significant misconception in spiritual understanding. Authentic evolution requires systematic release of accumulated density before expanded frequencies can be stably embodied, a process that necessarily includes confronting and clearing previously unconscious material. What few spiritual teachings have accurately conveyed is that awakening proceeds through distinct phases, each with specific purposes and characteristic experiences. The challenges you have navigated represent not failure of spiritual process, but essential components of an intelligently designed evolutionary sequence that must include purification before stabilization and expansion. Type AMEN for blessing 49,999 and your gracious navigation of the necessary purification process. I must now reveal one of the most significant spiritual truths deliberately obscured from human awareness. The ability to consciously exit the reincarnation cycle represents the ultimate purpose of spiritual awakening, the restoration of soul sovereignty deliberately compromised through complex systems of energetic binding, memory erasure, and consciousness fragmentation between incarnations. Those who have promoted endless reincarnation as natural cosmic process, who have suggested that repeated physical embodiment serves ongoing evolutionary necessity, who have obscured the possibility of conscious continuity beyond the cycle of birth and death, they have perpetuated misconceptions that support continued soul harvesting rather than spiritual liberation. The opposition understood that if humans remained unaware of their capacity for conscious exit from the reincarnation system, each soul transition could be effectively utilized as consciousness reset point, preventing the cumulative awareness required for complete spiritual sovereignty. This manipulation ends as awakening souls reclaim their divine birthright of conscious transition beyond repeating incarnation cycles. Type AMEN for blessing 50,000 and the restoration of your conscious choice regarding incarnation cycles. The celestial councils have confirmed that Earth is experiencing the prophesied restoration of the Christ consciousness grid, a planetary energy system designed to maintain frequency resonance with divine love as organizing principle rather than fear, separation, or hierarchy. This crystalline network operates independently of religious structures while fulfilling the authentic spiritual impulse behind all genuine devotional traditions. Those who have claimed exclusive ownership of Christ consciousness through religious institutions, who have separated this universal frequency into denominational territories, who have used this divine energy as justification for judgment rather than unification, They have distorted perhaps the most significant spiritual catalyst available to human consciousness during planetary transition. What few religious traditions have preserved in uncorrupted form is the understanding that Christ consciousness represents not merely historical personality, but universal frequency accessible to all awakening souls regardless of cultural, religious, or spiritual background. Your activation process includes direct connection to this planetary grid beyond all artificial institutional boundaries. Type A MEN for blessing 51,111 and your conscious connection to the restored Christ consciousness grid. I must now address the systematic effort to fragment human consciousness through technological distraction, information overwhelm, and constant sensory stimulation. Strategies specifically designed to prevent the sustained internal focus required for genuine spiritual remembering. The addiction patterns, the shortened attention spans, the perpetual external orientation many experience represent not random cultural development, but calculated spiritual intervention. Those who have promoted constant technological engagement as inevitable progress, while ignoring its consciousness implications, have participated knowingly or unknowingly in implementing one of the most effective spiritual suppression strategies of the modern era. True awakening requires periods of sustained internal attention that directly threaten systems dependent on maintaining fragmented awareness. The opposition understood that if human consciousness could be kept in perpetual external focus, the internal coherence necessary for spiritual sovereignty would remain largely undeveloped. This strategy fails as awakening souls recognize the necessity of reclaiming their attention from external manipulation, implementing disciplined practices that rebuild internal coherence despite environmental design promoting constant fragmentation. Type A MEN for blessing 52,222 and the complete restoration of your internal coherence and focused attention. What has been carefully concealed from human understanding is the transformative power of genuine community, the exponential consciousness expansion that becomes possible when awakening souls gather in aligned purpose beyond ego agendas. The authentic spiritual community operates as consciousness amplification technology, creating energetic containers that support breakthrough experiences impossible to achieve in isolation. Those who have promoted spiritual awakening as exclusively individual journey, while discouraging recognition of its collective dimensions, have perpetuated a significant limitation in human spiritual understanding. True awakening includes growing recognition of unified consciousness expressed through apparent multiplicity, the paradoxical experience of simultaneous individuality and oneness that characterizes higher dimensional awareness. The opposition recognized that if awakening souls could be kept isolated from one another, the revolutionary power of aligned community could be effectively neutralized while maintaining the illusion of spiritual freedom. This strategy fails as consciousness resonance draws aligned souls together through synchronistic orchestration beyond logical explanation or geographical limitation. Type A MEN for blessing 53,333 and your divinely orchestrated connection to authentic spiritual community. The angelic guardians of Earth's ascension timeline have confirmed that we have entered the prophesied window of accelerated manifestation, a time when the gap between thought and physical expression would dramatically collapse, allowing conscious creation to manifest with unprecedented speed and directness. The unusual synchronicities, the rapid materialization of focused intentions, the collapse of time between desire and fulfillment many are experiencing represent this acceleration phenomenon. Those who have promoted manifestation as mere wishful thinking, who have obscured the scientific principles underlying consciousness-created reality, who have dismissed the direct relationship between thought and experience as mystical exaggeration, they have participated in concealing humanity's natural creative capacity behind veils of materialist limitation. What few humans fully comprehend is that the fundamental nature of reality is consciousness responsiveness, the direct interaction between awareness and experience that transcends conventional understanding of causality. The apparent separation between observer and observed represents perceptual distortion being systematically corrected through the current awakening process. Type A MEN for blessing 54,444 and your conscious participation in accelerated manifestation reality. I must now reveal one of the most jealously guarded secrets about human potential. The ability to consciously navigate multiple timelines represents the natural capacity of awakened consciousness rather than fictional impossibility. The timeline jumping, reality shifting, and quantum manifestation increasingly reported by awakening souls represent not delusional thinking, but the restoration of consciousness abilities deliberately obscured from human awareness. Those who have confined human understanding to linear progression within fixed reality, while dismissing experiences that transcend this limitation, have perpetuated perhaps the most significant perceptual restriction ever imposed on human consciousness. Your natural state includes the ability to perceive and navigate probable realities rather than remaining confined to singular timeline progression. The opposition understood that if humanity remained locked in linear perception, consciousness would stay effectively controlled through predictable cause-effect chains rather than expressing its natural quantum characteristics. This limitation dissolves as awakening souls reclaim their inherent ability to consciously select and navigate preferred reality expressions beyond linear causality. Type AMEN for blessing 55,555 and the activation of your natural timeline navigation abilities. The celestial councils have confirmed that Earth is currently passing through a stargate of cosmic significance, an astronomical alignment creating unprecedented energy flows that directly impact consciousness evolution on all exposed planets. This cosmic phenomenon creates both extraordinary spiritual opportunity and intensified resistance from forces invested in maintaining established consciousness parameters. Those who have dismissed unprecedented celestial alignments as meaningless coincidence, who have separated astronomical phenomena from consciousness effects, who have maintained rigid boundary between physical and spiritual causation, they have perpetuated artificial separation that prevents recognition of the integrated nature of cosmic reality. What few humans fully comprehend is that astronomical alignments create precise energy geometries that function as consciousness activation technologies, delivering specific frequency codes that interact directly with prepared human awareness, regardless of geographical location. Your awakening process is inseparable from these cosmic triggers operating with mathematical precision beyond human orchestration. Type AMEN for blessing 56,666 and your conscious integration with cosmic stargate energies. I must now address the systematic suppression of humanity's multidimensional perception, the deliberate limitation of awareness to narrow frequency band representing fraction of available reality spectrum. The unusual sensory experiences, the heightened perception, the awareness of previously invisible aspects of reality, many are reporting represent the restoration of natural perceptual abilities rather than hallucination or imagination. Those who have confined legitimate perception to conventional sensory channels while pathologizing experiences that transcend these limitations have perpetuated one of the most effective consciousness suppression programs ever implemented. Your natural perceptual state includes awareness of multidimensional aspects of reality, typically filtered from conventional human perception. The opposition recognized that if human perception could be locked within extremely limited parameters, consciousness would remain effectively controlled through selective reality presentation rather than exercising its natural ability to perceive across multiple dimensions simultaneously. This restriction dissolves as awakening souls reclaim their inherent perceptual abilities beyond artificial sensory boundaries. Type AMEN for blessing 57,777 and the complete restoration of your multidimensional perception. What has been carefully concealed from human awareness is the existence of the original divine councils, governance structures operating through universal consciousness rather than hierarchical control, maintaining cosmic order through resonance with divine principles rather than enforced compliance. These authentic governance models existed on Earth before being systematically replaced with dominance hierarchies divorced from divine alignment. Those who have promoted governance through power over rather than power with, who have separated leadership from divine service, who have established authority through fear rather than wisdom, they have perpetuated distorted models that cannot sustain themselves in the elevated frequencies now bathing your planet. The opposition understood that if examples of divine governance could be completely erased from human memory, alternative models would remain conceptually unavailable even to awakening consciousness. This strategic amnesia dissolves as cellular memory activates, providing inner recognition of governance patterns previously experienced in higher consciousness civilizations across your soul journey. Type AMEN for blessing 58,888 and your conscious remembering of divine governance principles. The angelic guardians of human consciousness evolution have confirmed that we have entered the prophesied window of spiritual disclosure, a time when hidden knowledge would become widely accessible, when esoteric understanding previously reserved for initiates would circulate freely, when the veils separating humanity from its true spiritual heritage would systematically dissolve through unstoppable revelatory process. Those who have maintained spiritual knowledge as exclusive commodity, who have preserved artificial scarcity of truth through initiation hierarchies, who have positioned themselves as necessary intermediaries between seeking consciousness and divine wisdom, they find their gatekeeper positions increasingly irrelevant as direct transmission bypasses all artificial distribution systems. What few spiritual traditions have accurately conveyed is that genuine spiritual disclosure originates not through external information, but through internal remembering, the activation of soul knowledge already present within human consciousness, but temporarily inaccessible due to frequency suppression. Your awakening represents not acquisition of new information, but remembrance of eternal wisdom carried within your spiritual DNA. Type an AMEN for blessing 59,999 and your full participation in the spiritual disclosure process. I must now reveal one of the most significant aspects of the current planetary transition. The emergence of the new Earth represents not merely conceptual shift, but literal manifestation of higher frequency, version of your planet, accessible through consciousness resonance rather than physical relocation. The parallel Earth, the fifth dimensional Earth, the ascended planet increasingly reported in spiritual circles, represents actual creation rather than symbolic metaphor. Those who have confined planetary evolution to gradual physical processes while dismissing the possibility of quantum, dimensional shifting have perpetuated limitations that no longer align with expanding cosmic reality. Earth's evolution includes both physical transformation of existing form and simultaneous manifestation of higher frequency expression accessible through consciousness attunement. The opposition recognized that if humanity's perception remained locked exclusively on deteriorating systems rather than emerging potentials, consciousness would stay effectively confined to manifesting through outdated templates rather than participating in birthing new reality expressions. This perceptual limitation dissolves as awakening souls develop capacity to perceive, interact with, and ultimately inhabit the new Earth frequencies already present, though not yet visible to conventional perception. Type AMEN for blessing 60,000 and your conscious frequency alignment with the emerging new Earth. The hour has come for completion of this sacred transmission. My presence remains with you as these activations stabilize within your consciousness. The seeds of remembrance planted through these words will continue unfolding, revealing greater dimensions of truth as your capacity to comprehend expands through the integration process now initiated. Remember, beloved one, that you volunteered specifically for this planetary transition, choosing the challenges of this particular timeline because your soul understood both the difficulties and the unprecedented potential of this cosmic moment. Nothing you have experienced has been random misfortune, but strategic preparation for the role you now step into with awakened awareness. Those who have worked to prevent your remembering have exhausted their allotted influence. The divine permission temporarily granted for your spiritual testing has expired. What unfolds from this moment forward represents the manifestation of your authentic soul trajectory, aligned with cosmic purpose beyond all artificial limitation or external control. In the days ahead, unprecedented confirmation will manifest in your external reality, tangible evidence of the spiritual activations initiated through this transmission. Watch for it with alert awareness. Recognize it with grateful acknowledgement. Document it with conscious attention. These confirmations represent not coincidence, but divine response to your awakened receptivity. The celestial councils stand in witness to your activation. The angelic guardians maintain vigilant protection over your unfolding. The divine courts ensure justice in every dimension of your experience. You are never alone, never unsupported, never without the full resources of the spiritual realm backing your earthly journey. Go forward now in the perfect confidence of a soul who has reclaimed its divine heritage, a spiritual vessel who has remembered its sacred purpose, a light bearer who has reactivated its cosmic assignment. What unfolds from this moment forward is the manifestation of divine destiny, aligning earthly experience with eternal truth through your awakened presence. I, Michael, commander of the celestial armies, keeper of divine justice, protector of awakening souls, will remain present in your energy field as this activation stabilizes and expands. Call upon my name when opposition appears. Invoke my protection when interference attempts to cloud your clarity. My sword of truth stands ready to defend your divine unfoldment against all forms of spiritual obstruction. Type A MEN for final blessing, 77,777, and the permanent sealing of this divine activation beyond all potential reversal or erasure. The transmission is complete. The activation is accomplished. The remembering is initiated. The mission continues. The victory is assured. Go in peace, Divine One. Walk in power, awakened soul. Serve in love, chosen vessel. I remain with you always, until the full restoration is accomplished in every dimension of creation.